So I knew this day was coming at some point. So let me give you a little story of why I had this thing apart. So the last time we took it to the track, it went 580 in the eighth, and everything seemed to be good. It was a little lean, but everything, you know, it sounded good when I started it back up and had no issues. I took it home, did a compression test, and the compression test was a little off, but not so bad that I was too worried about it. So I write all the numbers down on the valve cover. Okay, so let's see, which one was it? So we've got a range from 182 to 135. Okay, so yeah, that's quite a big difference, but honestly, I've had those compression numbers like that for a long time. It's been and it's been fine. So since then, I can't get it to make more than around 17 pounds of boost. Okay, so it's like stuck. It's like stuck at 17 pounds of boost, which is around 220 kPa. No matter what I do, I've been troubleshooting this behind the scenes, like not really videotaping it, because I don't like to put out videos if I don't know what's wrong and, you know, just leave people hanging. So I did a bunch of things. I changed the wastegate spring to try to eliminate my boost controller. Okay, I replaced the boost controller. That was one thing I thought it was, but ended up not being the problem. So replaced that. What else? Like I said, I added spring pressure in the gate just to see if I could get the pressure up to see if it was the MAC valve that was causing the problem. So that didn't work. Okay, so I went ahead and put, like I said, I did the compression test. The compression test was a little off, but what I've found is that you can't tell a lot by a compression test. You got to do like a leak down. So I don't have a leak down tester. I ordered one, but what I did was I went ahead and just to check, I put some compressed air on all of the cylinders with the valves closed. Okay, both both valves closed, just to see if I'm getting any like noticeable pressure leak. And boy, do we have a pressure leak. So I have a little bit of leak on all the cylinders on the exhaust, okay, which is very typical. When I first got this cylinder head here, I took it apart and you could see that all the exhaust valves had a little bit of pitting in them. Okay, so none of them sealed really well, which is pretty normal because those get the hottest. So I expected a little bit of leak, but this one here, this one leaks like, well, I'll show you. I'll go ahead and put the compressed air on it, and you can hear how much air is coming out of the exhaust here. All right, so I'm gonna hook it up. So as you can see, this valve's closed, so's the intake. It's totally closed. And it's coming out almost as fast as it's going in, so that's a big leak. The rest of them are nowhere near that. They leak just a little bit, but this one's leaking right. So let me take this off. So what I'm thinking is it's probably got a bent valve, okay? So I'm guessing that maybe we had valve float or something, and maybe it contacted a piston and maybe bent it. So the other thing I did was I checked the lash on all of the, you know, on all the exhaust valves and all. So I'm getting good lash. So it's kind of weird. I thought that I would see the lash be off on this one cylinder. I thought it would be much bigger because I think the valve is off the seat somehow. But the lash comes in good. So I don't know if maybe the valve seat is damaged. I don't know. So we got to take it apart. I'm going to try to fix it because none of this is ready yet. And it's going to be a little while before we get everything done. I've been working on it, but you know, it takes time, and I still have a lot of parts to order. So I want to get this back working. Hopefully it's something that we can just throw a new valve in it. I have, from that head there, I have a whole set of valves, okay? And then what I was thinking was, since Dave over at Head Games was mentioned to me in one of my videos that these springs are not going to be good for what we're trying to do here. So I have these springs. These are the single springs, and they will work in this head. So once I do, what I'll do is I'll take it apart, see if I can lap the valves in, maybe replace the valves, replace those two valves if they're bad, lap them in, see if I can get them to seal, and we'll put these springs in and, set the correct spring height and all that, and put it back together, okay? Hopefully that'll do it. I don't know. I also have, let's see, I do have some head studs too. So these are head studs that I was gonna use on this one, but I could just use them on here. A couple years ago, like it was about 2 years ago, I went and bought this 1J head, and it came with a block and pistons and everything. And it was somewhat built, and he had head studs in it, so that's where those head studs came from. So we could do that. We could put the head studs, we could do the springs, hopefully fix the valves, and maybe that'll help with the valve float. I know it's valve floating because I'm making probably close to 700 horsepower on this, and stock springs, stock cams, stock everything. So the chances of it valve floating are pretty high. But it's kind of a blessing because the motor didn't explode. It kind of just went out. It didn't go out with a bang and went out with a whimper. It just stopped making power. And I believe it's probably because this cylinder's down. So we're running on 5 cylinders, and along with all the rest of the cylinders leaking too. So anyway, I'll put you on a little time lapse, and we'll start tearing everything apart. All right, guys, so at this point, I'm just checking to see if any of the buckets are frozen. And I just checked them, and they all spin really nice and smooth. And believe it or not, I mean, the cam journals look really good. The caps have a little bit of wear, but like not much at all. Like nothing that your finger could catch or anything like that. I mean, it's actually in really good shape. So yeah, like I said, I spun all these buckets and they all spin just nice and smooth. So, man, I was expecting a little more damage or issue. I don't know. Especially this one here, that's the culprit. This is the culprit right here. I don't know. I tried to look in here and really can't see anything. So, all right, let's get the head off, and then we'll see really what's going on. All right, first look. Well, I mean, for the abuse I give this thing, it doesn't look too bad. See if I can see any kind of damage to the gasket. I don't really see anything. Everything looks really good. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. No signs of detonation. There's no like pock marks or anything. All right, let's look at the head. All right, so this is the back of the motor. So it was these valves right here. I don't know, they don't look bad. You know what though? This cylinder here, you can see how it looks like washed. If you notice, there's like well, this one's a little washed too, but this one seems kind of wet. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but man, it's beat up right on the edge here. Like really badly. So these are pretty well toast. I don't even know if I could lap that in. So it's kind of hard to tell, but the seat itself has some pitting as well. So I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I can't really see it that well, but definitely has some pitting, but no like, I was expecting to see like some major damage, some major bent valves. So maybe I'll throw these in the lathe and see if they wobble. All right, guys. So we discovered something a little different. I took my focus off the cylinder head and went back to over here to just kind of look at it closer. And I want to see if you guys can spot what the problem is. Okay, I'm going to put the camera on the cylinders and I'm going to rotate it and then you tell me what you think. So we're going to focus on this one right here, the one that looks a little different color than the rest. All right, it's coming up, coming up. All right, that's at the top, and then it's gonna go back down. So let's back it up a little. Looky there. Still in the hole. So if you look at, okay, if we're at top dead center here, and you can see it's not coming up near the top of the bore. And we'll come over to here, the number one. And this one's right at the top. You see this one? Right, that's level with the deck. Okay. And then we'll go to this one here, level with the deck. This one here, top dead center. That's as high as it goes. There is a lot of space there. Actually, both of these. Because these two here are, they're together, okay? And then you have these two together, two and five, and then 1 and 6. Actually, 1's in the hole a little bit too. 6 is pretty good. It's right at the top. We got bent rods. So there's at least 4 bent rods. These two here, Number one is very slight. I mean, but, so, okay, maybe not bent rods. It could be either bent rods or the bearing is gone. So if the bearing is gone, then it wouldn't come to the top of the bore either. But that's quite a bit. And I would think I would hear like rod knock, and I don't. It runs super smooth and you can't hear a thing. So, but that's the problem. That is definitely the problem, that you can't have one cylinder like that that is that far in the hole at the top. That's the top. That's at the top dead center right there. And it looks like we might have some broken rings too, because look how wet this piston is. Look how dry that one is. Dry, 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 wet. And I didn't touch it. I just lifted the head off. So yeah, so we have multiple problems. Bent rods, either bent rods, bad bearings, combination of both. And this is going to need a valve job. So this is not going to be as bad as I thought. I have, like I said, off that 1J head, I have a whole set here, which are not in as bad a condition, okay? These valves, I looked at them underneath an eye loop, and let me draw for you. So you got the valve, you know, you have the valve here, and then, let me do this a little bit better. So here's the angle of the valve, and then here's the seat. So this angle here, okay, this, if you look under like a microscope, it looks more like that. So it's beat in at an angle, or not an angle, but like a radius beat into it, okay? So, I mean, that could be wear, that could be, I mean, Dave, if you're watching this, you probably know more about what this is. Valve float, just beating the heck out of the valves, okay? When we're on the two-step and we're getting ready to launch, that's just beating the heck out of the valves. So, and these are all stock. So you can imagine, you know, the abuse it takes. But yeah, we definitely have an issue there. That would totally explain the loss of power. I mean, that's a lot. That is, let me get my calipers. So if it's at top dead center now, I mean, I know this is not the accurate, this is not the way you're supposed to do this, but we're at 125 thousandths in the hole at top dead center. So let's move it around. Check number one. So you can also tell because there's a dot right here. There's a dot here, so I know this is a top dead center here. This one is 33 thousandths in the hole. Okay. Let's check the back one. That one is 18 thousandths in the hole. So look at the difference. I mean, the variance is pretty crazy. So definitely these two in the middle, really taking a beating. Maybe those are the two that get the most nitrous. I don't know. They're right in the center, so. So again, 125 thousandths, 128 thousandths in the hole. How many millimeters is that? 3.2 millimeters. So if the head gasket's 1.5 millimeters, so that's almost 2 head gasket thicknesses, the piston is down in the bore. So, all right, well, I'm gonna end the video here because I gotta pull the whole motor. Gotta disconnect the transmission, pull the drive shaft, and I can pick it up from here and just lift the motor out. And yeah, so what are we gonna do? I have, again, hope this 1J here may save me. I've got pistons and rods, an entire set. I don't know 100% the condition of them. The rods don't look bent. They look pretty good. The bearings looked pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it's got rings. None of the rings are broken. The pins feel really good. I don't know. So we have options to do a cheap rebuild on this. Like, you know, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on this. I'll put a head gasket, lap the valves, clean this up, maybe get it decked, and replace the bearings. See if the crank is messed up. The crank could be messed up because if the bearings are bad, causing it to be that far in the hole, there's also a good chance the crank is bad. So if the crank is bad and we have to buy a new crank, it may not be worth it to even mess with this. So I'm not gonna buy any parts until I get this apart, see what all it needs, and if it needs a big investment, we'll forget about it. We won't even mess with it, and we'll put that money into getting this thing ready. So anyway, it's a bummer. I was hoping to take this thing to the track after I got the rear end fixed, but that's not gonna happen. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you all learned something, and yeah, I learned a lot too, just from taking this apart and seeing that. Taught me a lot. So anyway, check y'all later.